Hello YouTubers, welcome back to another Tesla vlog with me, Adam Wellinformed. Here in the UK, we are experiencing jaw-dropping all-time highs in the petrol prices at the pumps, and now the experts are predicting the worst is yet to come. £2 a litre for standard unleaded fuel. Seriously, where does all that money go? But straight off the bat, this video is not what you think. It hasn't been created to trigger or to gloat to ICE drivers. Frankly, I think it's catastrophic news if you own or operate a petrol or diesel car. You may think as a Tesla Model 3 and electric car owner, I could be all smug about this news, but that's actually far from reality. In fact, I want nothing more than the price of fuel to fall back to reasonable levels. Strange stance, you may say, Adam. Well, like every other EV owner before me, we've all owned ICE cars. I have friends, family and work colleagues that all depend on their petrol cars for work and for social, and the repercussions are felt further afield because our whole society is unfortunately still totally pinned and reliable on fossil fuels. For example, our HDVs that transport our food and our parcels are still powered by fossil fuels, so EV drivers like myself still feel those repercussions of high fuel prices in other ways, whether that's in the price of food or listening to the struggles of the ever-growing prices at the pump. As an EV driver right now, I am grateful that I can mitigate the increased price of personal transportation. I know that there are many families out there that aren't as fortunate as myself, and when I purchased my Tesla, I can never have anticipated such an increase in the price of fuel. When I last paid for fuel for my 1.2 litre petrol Seat Leon, the UK average was around £1.14 per litre, or around £57 for a full tank, and that's about $71 to my friends across the pond. We'd usually fill up twice a month, so pre-pandemic it would be around £114 or $142 a month for fuel. Now, if it does hit that predicted £2 a litre in 2022, I could have been paying something more like £200 a month on fuel, which would have been almost equal to the car finance payment at that time. And if we add both of them figures together, that's almost the monthly finance cost of a Tesla Model 3. It's truly mind-blowing how the costs of personal transportation have really blown up. And it's not just fuel prices that are taking a battering. The prices of car parts and the delays to those car parts have been felt industry-wide. Which brings me back to why I brought this topic to fruition today. If you're watching this video right now, you're hopefully interested in or browsing or looking to acquire a new car. You could be exclusively looking at petrol cars, hybrids, or curiously looking at going full electric. If you class yourself as the average driver, I'm going to detail why purchasing an EV like Tesla Model 3 could be the most appropriate choice for you in 2022. And I won't just be presenting a financial case for an electric car, but to your surprise, there's also a really strong practical case too. So if this video sounds like an interesting insight, buckle up, hit that like button to show me some of your virtual love and support for Tesla and EVs, hit the subscribe button so you can continue on this Tesla EV journey with me, and finally hit the notification bell so you're notified of all my upcoming electric car videos as soon as they're available. Right, time to set out 5 reasons why 2022 is the right time to consider going electric, from practicality to financially. Plus, you want to hear my thoughts on the potential ice cliff you may want to avoid. So to break into my first point, I want to look at drivability. The Tesla Model 3 has a no gears like experience and regenerative braking. This is not only a practical positive, but also a massive financial gain, and I'll explain on that in just a second. So every conventional combustion car has gears, automatic or manual. A Tesla has drive or reverse, go forwards or go back. It's not a complicated process, just simple, efficient, straightforward driving. There's no clutch work, bite or stalling issues, just super smooth driving, and it makes you wonder why driving hasn't always been this easy. The advantage over a multi-transmission gearbox is less friction and so overall less wear on the unit. Heck, in 2018 Tesla tweeted that the drive system was designed to last 1 million miles. Yes, you heard that right, Chief. 1 million miles, and together with the tweet they shared the images of the gears used during testing. So not only is the drive silky smooth, there's going to be less moving parts, so fewer wear and tear items that could make maintenance more likely. But wait, it gets better. When your foot isn't on the accelerator, most of the time you don't even need to use your conventional brake pedal, and that's because of the one pedal driving system. Whenever you lay your foot off the accelerator pedal, the car recuperates that usually wasted energy from braking, and you can actually reuse that energy to accelerate the car again. It's like a small dosage of free fuel, some may say. Not quite self-charging though. Imagine if that was possible. Anyway, normally that energy and stress will be placed directly on your brakes and so it wear down the pad and the disc. But with regenerative braking, you're placing less stress on your brakes, gaining energy, and making your commute a much more pleasurable experience. So just like the gearbox, it's a better and more practical experience and a long-term financial gain from the reduced wear and tear and a little bit of extra go-go juice thrown in. So the second topic that I want to discuss, and I have to discuss it right now, is just comparing the fuel and energy costs. Here in the UK, at least around 2/3 of the population have access to off-road parking. And so when it comes to the cost of home charging, we have a range of options to determine how much we pay to fully charge your car. In a fossil fuel car, you have a selection of different forecourts that you can attend, and generally they're priced a few pennies within each other. If you have an EV and charge at home on the bog standard variable tariff of 28 pence per kilowatt hour, it could cost roughly £14 to cover around 250 miles for my Model 3 Standard Range Plus. That's about 5 pence a mile, but like I said, that was the bog standard price. If you have a smart meter installed, and I'm sure other countries have something similar to this, we have access to EV-friendly home electricity tariffs. So that 28 pence per kilowatt hour can drop to as low as 4.5 pence per kilowatt hour. And if charged during the early hours of the morning, for which a charging schedule can be set up on the home charger or directly in the car to just automatically kick in to charge at that direct time, if fully plugged in, this is exactly what I do at the moment. Disclaimer, these rates do generally have a higher day rate, but using a 7.5 pence per kilowatt hour rate provided by Octopus Energy today, using my car as an example again, you could get a full charge for just £3.75 and resulting in around a penny a mile operating cost. You can also try shift some of your other electrical activity into this time frame too if you really want to maximise your savings. These residential electric tariffs are available today. The reason that I said that is because a friend of mine said, I'm sure your electricity is going to go through the roof, and made some joke about Papa Elon. But generally you come accustomed to these sort of assumptions and banterous behaviour. But as I explained, these EV tariffs exist today, and it exists because the national grid is effectively trying to balance the grid. In some ways, it's incentivizing consumers to use the grid at different times of the day, not to use it during the busiest times of the day. And so in return for charging whilst I sleep, I get super low rates to charge. Even before the price of electricity had increased, Octopus Energy had a tariff that offered charging at 5 pence per kilowatt hour. Therefore, throughout this whole time, big price increases in electricity tariffs, it's still able to offer an over-the-night rate of 7.5 pence per kilowatt hour. For which I concluded to my friend, if there is the ability to shift usage to less busy times for a discount, these tariffs will still likely exist in the future. In addition to that, there's still free level 2 chargers available around the country, like at your local supermarkets or at your local retail parks, together with the more expensive rapid chargers that you'll find, for which you use very little of if you're the average driver like myself. I pretty much used home charging exclusively over the past few months, and over my 18 months ownership, I've probably used the Tesla supercharger network less times than I have fingers on my hands. So running an EV can be immensely cheap, even during the cost of living crisis that we face today. Apart from energy costs at present, there is no road tax, luxury car tax to pay, no congestion charges, very little maintenance to pay, and the car insurance wasn't too different from what I was used to either. I've only glanced over these costs, but if you really want a more direct cost comparison against petrol alternative, take a look at this video on the screen now, and that will give you a bit more of a representable comparison. The third point that I want to make sort of builds on the running costs that I just mentioned, but I want to shy away from the financials and go back to the practicalities of the car. For the Tesla Model 3, there are no regular servicing requirements that demand you to take it to a qualified technician. Gone are the days of arranging an annual service plan with your manufacturer, and Tesla have set out a list of items that need to be switched around or taken out at set intervals, such as tyres or changing the air filter or the windscreen fluid. You could do all these at home yourself if you were comfortable in doing so, and there is no oil changes, no coils or transmission block failures. If there is something wrong, you can just flag it via the Tesla app, and then at times they can then remote diagnose those issues without being physically present at the car. And if it is mechanical failure, you should be able to claim under the generous warranty of 4 years or 50,000 miles. For the battery and powertrain, This moves to an 8-year warranty or 120,000 miles unless you have the Model 3 SR Plus or the rear-wheel drive Model 3, but that mileage limit does just drop to 100,000. So really you have worry-free maintenance on your hands, just like it should be. Spend more time driving and then less time in the garage. The fourth thing that I want you to consider is when you're looking at purchasing a Model 3, your initial response is probably going to be that the price tag is more expensive than the petrol alternative that you're thinking of buying. But hold that thought. Prices are increasing for all vehicles. Then factor in the cost of ownership, like I discussed in the running cost segment, and before you know it, it's more cost effective than you think. The other day, and I was surprised to be offered a trade-in price over the retail price that I paid for my car. And despite racking up daily, everyday mileage on the vehicle that I use solely as the family car, looking out into the future here in the UK in 2030, by law, it should be impossible to purchase a new ICE vehicle. That then raises the question, by 2030, electric vehicle battery tech will have moved on 7.5 years from today, so there'll be an even more credible Tesla out there and electric cars in general than they're offering currently today. And this is where I'm going to offer you some food for thought. Will the everyday consumer want to purchase an ICE vehicle in 2030? Is it going to be a more attractive offering at that point? If there is limited demand for an ICE vehicle, how will that affect residuals? How will that then affect your finance options if you're in the middle of a PCP agreement at that time? How is it going to affect the price of fuel again? There's just loads of questions here that you could ask, and it's impossible to predict the future. In some ways, that's going to be a gamble. Literally, lots of questions. No one has the answer to it, not even me, but you can form your own opinion and hedge your bets. I, for one, have clearly taken sides, as you can see, and personally, I feel like I don't want to be on the wrong side of an ICE residual cliff if that does occur. Then before I go into the conclusion, I just want to try shift you away from possibly going into that hybrid option. And now you're thinking, Adam, why are you trying to do that? It's electric, isn't it? Well, the reality is it's not really electric, because it's more like 90% petrol and 10% electric. So instead of being the best of both, it's just overcomplicates the offering. And what I mean by that is the smaller, less efficient petrol vehicle is now powering the vehicle, all whilst carrying batteries and other elements that provide the hybrid element. So there is additional weight in the vehicle, and this ultimately then requires more juice to drive it. That, and you can't drive exclusively on the electrical hybrid powertrain for 100% of the time. From time to time, it will force the engine to cut in for reliability purposes. Then the final point in this is that I need you to be completely honest with yourself here. If you did own one of these plug-in hybrids, would you be fully committed to charging the vehicle every night, or would you be lazy and continue to operate it like an ICE vehicle? It's a serious question, and whilst you may have good intentions to do so, those standards could slip, and ultimately you're going to be paying the fuel bill for moving those empty batteries and the heavier vehicle as a result. If you are driving a Tesla Model 3 or equivalent battery electric vehicle, you could get over 300 miles of WLTP rated range and do pretty much 30 odd miles a day. And if you do 30 miles a day or 10,000 miles a year, you then pretty much have sufficient range to miss a night or two before you might want to place it on charge overnight. It's not essential, what I'm trying to say, is to charge it every night. Whereas on the hybrid battery side, you're probably going to get 20, 30, 40 miles with one charge. So it is more likely that you will have to put it on charge every night. So to conclude, based on my own experience, you shouldn't just consider a Tesla Model 3 because it's an electric car and because it emits zero emissions. You should consider a Tesla Model 3 because as a total package, it is more practical, it's running cost friendly, and generally a car where you're replacing your existing petrol car for. And as I mentioned earlier about the residuals, it's just impossible to predict how the future will play out with residuals and the fuel prices. But at least here in the UK by law, it will be impossible to acquire a new ICE vehicle after 2030. At that point, are you then gambling with residual values of the ICE vehicle that you own? And are you getting maintenance-free driving at that point? Remember, I'm talking about the average driver here being your daily commuter and not your average petrol head lover who may want to retain an ICE vehicle for sentimental value. If you want to see why I think the Tesla Model 3 is an all-round better alternative to ICE vehicles, you can also watch my whole EV journey using the playlist on the screen now. So what do you guys think? If you are in the market for a car, would you seriously consider a Tesla Model 3 now? Or would you consider another electric alternative for your new car? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you're not quite sure what to comment and you want to show me you got this far in the video, you could simply comment no ice for me, and I'll give you a cheeky thumbs up for the support. If you're not done so already, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe, share the video with your friends and family or any other group that may find it beneficial. As always, you folks have been great, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.